We got a lot of stuff to get into here on Chicago Bears Now. Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams providing good news and excitement for Chicago Bears fans. We got some injury updates, and Caleb showing some vulnerability at his press conference today. You love to see that. Let's go ahead and dive on in. My name is Harrison Graham. Some great news from Ben Johnson today. He says that Rome Odunze will return at some point this season. Now, when is that? We'll have to wait and see, but here's what he had to say specifically regarding Rome Odunze's foot injury. He said, "We've been working through his rehab process. He's right on track. He's going to be in a good spot. He's going to be able to help us this year." That is only a good thing. If Rome Odunze can come back and help in any capacity, that is a positive. Now, how much can he do? How impactful will he be? We'll only know when he gets out there on the grass and starts running routes in these games. But he's a really good player. And if you can get him back at 80%, that is still worthwhile. He was obviously having a monster season earlier in the year. Then his production was dipping, and we found out he was playing through this foot thing. And I do want to be clear, I don't expect 8 catches for 110-yard Rome Odunze to just come out and show up out of nowhere. But if you can catch 3 to 5 balls per game, couple big ones, I think that would be very, very impactful. You got a lot of weapons. You got a lot of guys you can go to, but he's a guy that garners attention. So even just having him out there as an option is certainly a positive, and it certainly sounds like he's going to be able to play at some point here down the stretch. Now, when do you bring him back? Even if he's cleared, would you play him in the regular season before the playoffs? We'll see, but it sounds like, barring a setback, he will be playing again for the Bears this season. If you had to guess, when will Rome Odunze return this year? I'm going to say either week 18 or in the first playoff game. I don't think he'll play this week, but you guys let me know. Brad Biggs did report that during the open media session at practice, Rome Odunze and Luther Burden were not out there on the practice field. Neither was CJ Gardner-Johnson, by the way. We'll talk more about him here in a second. I'd be stunned if Rome or CJ Gardner-Johnson played against the 49ers on Sunday night. Maybe Luther progresses throughout the week and plays. We'll see what his status ends up being, but as of now, he's probably in doubt as well. But the first injury report drops tomorrow, so we'll have more clarity on that. Here's what Ben had to say about Gardner-Johnson. He said, "We'll kind of work through that here this week," talking about his knee injury, but I don't think the injury report comes out till tomorrow, so we'll know more then. It sounds like certainly they avoided a major injury, which is good. I've been told this is probably more of like a hyperextended knee, an MCL issue. So those type of things are usually week to week. They can be 2 weeks. They can be 4. I'm guessing, again, just a guess, educated guess, we don't see him the last 2 weeks of the regular season, and the hope is he can return for the playoffs. If you get the 1 seed, you get that extra week off, which would be huge. Obviously, Ben mentioned yesterday that Kyler Gordon could return for the postseason as well. So you might have a situation here where you have a couple of options, and hey, maybe they both are on pitch counts, but they can kind of eat up all the snaps. If they're each on part-time roles. Again, we're early on here. We'll see what happens, but the good news is Gardner-Johnson has a chance to return at some point. Now, in the short term, that likely means Nick McLeod is your starting nickel. And look, he's not a great option, right? He's not horrible. He competes hard. He fights, but, he's kind of a journeyman for a reason. He's been valuable for this team because he's been available. He's had to plug in at outside. He's had to plug in at nickel. I thought the first game in Green Bay, I think it was, he actually made a couple of nice plays in coverage downfield. So, he's not a complete liability, but he's certainly not the other two guys, right? And, would they explore Tyreek Stevenson at nickel like I've suggested a couple of times? Maybe. Now that you're in the playoffs, you could tinker with that a little bit if you wanted to try it, but I'm not sure they view that as a real option. A little more minor news here on the injury front. The Bears announcing in this tweet per Kevin Fishbane that Luke Newman is having his 21-day practice window opened. If you remember in the middle of the season, I can't remember which game it was, he came in and for Jonah Jackson for most of the second quarter and played about 20 snaps and held his own, played pretty well. Jonah came back in the second half and was all good, but then Luke Newman got injured and missed the last, I want to say 6 weeks or so. So getting a depth piece back, that's always good as well. You would think probably wouldn't be activated this week, but maybe you activate him for week 18 or for the playoffs. So you want as many healthy bodies available, obviously, on that front. All right, coming up, Caleb Williams fires up Bears fans with a couple of things he had to say at his press conference earlier today. We will get into that. But first, guys, we might get Bears-Packers Part 3, and even if we don't, it's FGB as always. That's always going to be the motto here, regardless of the season. These are timeless shirts. These are timeless hoodies. Chatsports.com/FGB gets you to the FGB shirt and hoodie collection here at Bears Now. If you want to go directly to the item, chatsports.com/FGB hoodie or chatsports.com/FGB shirt will get you directly to the hoodie or the shirt. But if you're driving around and you're like, what was that link? Just chatsports.com/FGB. That's going to get you where you want to go. A lot of people getting in on this action, and it could be kind of a post-holiday present. You're not going to get it before Christmas, obviously, this close. It'll come after the new year at this point, but you could get it before the third matchup potentially. So get in on that gear, chatsports.com/FGB shirt, chatsports.com/FGB hoodie, or just chatsports.com/FGB. Okay, Caleb Williams speaking to the media today showed some vulnerability and said some things that I think should fire up some fans at his press conference today. And he was kind of asked, do you find joy in the turnaround this year and, winning games for this team after how last year went, so on and so forth. And, like most athletes, they find a way to get a chip on their shoulder, right? And here's what he had to say. He goes, I got drafted here, told that I'm not a special player, told that I'm not a good fit here, told that coach, talking about Ben Johnson, and I wouldn't work, and that's absolutely true. A lot of people had that take. Told I can't win here. Being able to help this team, help this organization, be part of it to get to the playoffs. My goal isn't just to get to the playoffs. My goal is to win and to win big. I'm going to keep my head down. I'm going to keep growing for the guys in this building, for the coaches, for the organization, and for this city to be proud and happy to be fans and supporters of the Chicago Bears. My goal is to win and to win big. That is the quote that should fire you guys up, and then also shouting out the fans like, hey, we want a team to make you guys proud. Like, that's a guy who wants to be here. That's a guy who wants to win here. That's a guy who takes this very, very seriously about being the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. And I think a growing theme of this week is, hey, yeah, we're in the playoffs. Awesome. That's just the first goal. Ben Johnson said it, right? The next goal is winning the division. After that, it's getting the number one seed. After that, it's making a run in the playoffs. So they've made it clear that, yeah, we're in the playoffs. That's cool. That's not enough. That's not what they want. Now, however you guys want to look at this team and what defines success this year, I think is all fair. I think what they've done qualifies as a successful season. But I also think you could dream big. There's no reason not to. This team absolutely could make a run. They could lose in the first round. I think all of that is on the table. Unless they get blown out in the first round, it will suck and it'll be sad and disappointing in the moment. But in the grand scheme of things, they've accomplished a lot this year. They're heading in the right direction. But at the same time, it's okay to want more. It's okay to believe in more. I said it, I think, after the Eagles game. I'm not putting a lid on this team anymore. Are they the favorites to win the Super Bowl? Of course not. Could they, though? Why not? Why can't this team win the Super Bowl this year? It is wide open in the NFC. It's even more wide open in the AFC. So this thing's kind of just up for grabs. And, just keep plugging away, winning these games, and let the chips fall where they may. And it's clear that players, coaches together, like, they're on the same wavelength. Like, hey, like, we're checking boxes here, but we're not satisfied. We got a lot more goals to reach and to accomplish here in 2025. The future is the future. Like, players don't think what's going to be the case 3 years from now. That's for us. Oh, imagine what's going to happen then. Well, let's focus on now. Right now, this team's 11-4 and still has a chance to be the number one seed in the NFC, especially if they can beat the 49ers on Sunday night. So it's really exciting to be a Chicago Bears fan right now. How far do you guys think the Bears go in the playoffs this year? Are they one and done? NFC Championship game? Could they go to the Super Bowl? Could they win the Super Bowl? Again, I think it's all possible. You guys let me know what you think will happen. Okay, and then some vulnerability. And I always like it when we get vulnerability from our athletes, from our coaches, from these public figures, because it's easy for them to just not show that side of themselves. That's the easy thing to do, right? But sometimes it's nice to appreciate a little peek behind the curtain. And Caleb Williams admitted that, like, early on in the process, I didn't know how Ben felt about me and where this relationship was going to go. And so, he was kind of asked, how did this relationship develop and when did you kind of realize it was going to be a good one? He said it took me a while. Throughout camp, at certain parts, I felt like our relationship was pretty fragile. From my perspective, it was like, geez, this dude doesn't seem to like me. He doesn't have to like me. That's what you kind of realize. You start figuring out that's just him. And he cares so much about the sport. He cares so much about us. He cares so much about winning that you start figuring out him and you understand that when you're on that 53 time by 120, the field, that's his place. And then when you get off the field, he's one of the guys. I think we heard breadcrumbs of this throughout the offseason and into training camp, that Ben's intensity, I think it caught a lot of people off guard in the organization, people covering this team. Because what was all the chatter when, Ben Johnson has been a head coach candidate? Well, we know he's this whiz kid, genius, analytical guy, smart play caller. Can he command a room? Can he lead? Oh, we found out pretty early that he's a pretty intense guy. I mean, DJ Moore, and this got brought up today, said over the course of the season, someone was like, yeah, half the time, I don't know if I should feel scared of him or not, because he's when he flips a switch, he's kind of, he's very, very intense. And I think it's just a feeling out process. It's, it's like any new coach or any new boss. It's like, you don't know who they truly are at first. And I think Ben and this staff was very intentional. I think they ran a really hard training camp because this team, let's just call a spade, was soft under Matt Eberflus. Mentally soft. They didn't practice hard. That was reported all the time. Like last year, you would hear stories how, fans at training camp, it felt like they were stretching for like the first hour and they did like 20 minutes of hard practice and that would be it. Like they went live a lot this year. Like they were hard on these guys because they needed to build those calluses. And I think that's paid off over the course of this season. And it's grown that toughness, that belief in one another in this team and these coaches. They've built that bond. And you got to be hard early to kind of appreciate the good times late in a lot of areas of life. And I think this is an example of that, certainly. And then Ben Johnson also today spoke about his relationship with Caleb and said, we both have the same goals. We both care deeply about the team. We care deeply about the city. And I care deeply about his success as well. He understands now at this point, you only get to that by spending a lot of time together. And that's been what we've been focusing on in the spring and all the way up until now. Every single day, we're spending one-on-one time, quality time together to where we can be very transparent with each other. And Caleb talked about that a little bit as well. He gave an example of one day at camp, they were both frustrated, and Caleb kind of, brushed Ben off for a sec because he was a little heated in the moment. And then, come back together, figure it out later. That's just kind of how it is. You would hear stories about that all the time with like Brady and McDaniels, Brady and Belichick. I'm not comparing Caleb to Tom Brady, but the great competitors and the great coaches, players and coaches, these strong-minded characters, like they're gonna butt heads sometimes, but in the end, like they're chasing the same thing, which is what Ben's talking about, which is winning. And the Bears have done a lot of that this season. As well. And then lastly, Ben on Caleb said, and I think what I've grown to love about him, and I hope he would say the same thing, echo the same thing, I think we're very mentally similar. We share a lot of the same competitive drive, and we think very much the same way in a lot of regards. And I think you've seen that over the course of the season, and you've seen a lot of improvements over the course of the season. I think Ben has done a really good job of like challenging Caleb to some of the advanced modern or NFL quarterback things. Hey, we're going to get your butt under center a lot of the time. We're going to do a lot of play action, turning your back to the defense and, take some shots downfield. The pre-snap control. From week one to now, it's night and day. Remember week one, they're just false starting left and right. They're not getting lined up. We heard in training camp all the time the pre-snap operation was a mess. Well, over the course of the season, that's improved a lot, and that's just with reps and being challenged. The post-snap operation, I've said it, I think Caleb's eyes are in the right place a lot of the time. And, we saw first play of the game last week. First two reads on the right side of the field, gets back to the backside dig to Jade Walker for 15, stuff like that. footwork and base, still a work in progress, but it's certainly improved. And then, the deep ball accuracy, it's still a work in progress, but it's much better than what it was last year. They have connected and converted on a lot more vertical and deep concepts here in 2025. We saw it to win the game the other day. So they both talked about that. Yeah, they installed that play this week and hit on it in practice, and were ready to pull it out at the right time. And boy, did they ever. And I truly think, and Caleb said it, look, a lot of people question this pairing. Oh, Ben Johnson, he wants a quarterback who gets the ball out quickly, is strictly play on time. And I think this pairing has limitless potential because Caleb has improved a lot in that area. It's like Ben is helping Caleb out, but Caleb is opening new doors for Ben out. Ben said it midway through the season, like, yeah, he bails me out in a lot of my play calls a lot because he could just make these plays after the play that not many guys can. So that morphing of supreme physical talent that Caleb has, along with just the playing on time aspect of Ben and his background and what he wants to do typically offensively, like, it's still marrying up, but you're seeing the growth of it throughout the course of the season. And that's why I think there's limitless potential here. Like, I think this pairing could be, we could be talking about this 5-10 years from now. Like, what's the best play caller head coach play caller quarterback pairing in the NFL? Is it Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson? I don't see why that's impossible. So it's early on. It's year one. We're focused on the here and now, but it's just been cool to see this whole thing as a team, but for these two individuals specifically, because that's why you bring in Ben Johnson to unlock Caleb Williams to come together in year one and for them to have as much success as they've had. All right, guys, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears now. Exciting times. Rome Odunze coming back soon, hopefully. Caleb Williams firing up the fan base. It's good vibes here in Chicago. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe.